Welcome to the Marvel Alliance podcast, where we cover anything and everything to do with the Marvel Universe. From the comics, TV, and movies, we will go from the Mojo-verse to Earth 616 to New Asgard in order to bring the Marvel Universe right to you. I'm the man without fear, Chris.
I'm your friendly neighborhood Brent.
Alliance Assemble. Volume 122. And, man, we got a lot of rumors flying around this week.
Yeah. I mean, a couple rumors, almost confirmation about a thing that we'll talk about in a little bit related to crossovers. But, I mean, there's certainly a rumor that's got my attention more than any others. Because if it's true, that's my number 3. That's my hat trick. So we'll see. We'll get there, though.
And you can see by the background, I think we have an idea of what our first topic of discussion is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So, but how's your week been?
It's been all right. Super, super busy at work. I'm pretty tired. I'm not going to lie. I've definitely fallen asleep before. Close to 9 o'clock a couple times this week. And then I woke back up for a little while and then fell back asleep later. But regardless, I will power through. I will power through.
Yes, whatever it takes, right?
Whatever it takes. That's right.
Yeah, it's been. I'm alone in the house. Aaron and the kids are in upstate New York.
How long is that's? For a married man with kids, that's a dream. Be honest, it's okay. You don't have to say anything.
I've definitely have gotten a lot of different things done in the sense of at work because I don't have to come home as early. So it's been a busy week at work for me as well. But we've got a new AC installed for upstairs, so that's it's nice not worrying each day. Is the AC going to make it through the day?
So, How long has it been this way? Like, how long has your family been out of town?
Since Monday morning.
It's really weird, right?
Yeah, yes. Oh, I told Erin today when I talked to her, it's like, today was a rougher day at work for me because of other things you and I talked about offline. So definitely miss them. I miss them every day, but today I really, really felt we're getting all sappy now, but
the loneliness. No, I hear it. I have family that lives in Colorado, and there's been 2 times when my wife and kids have gone there where I didn't go because of work. And but don't get me wrong, I will never pretend like I don't enjoy it. Like it is nice to have the lonesome time. I'm introverted by nature, so alone time is vital.
Yes.
But it is really weird. And like that first morning, I was late to work. I normally get both I'm the one who gets my kids up out of bed. Just the routine we're in, I get them out of bed. I get them, dressed, their breakfast and everything ready before I leave for work.
Yeah.
Not having to do all that screwed my routine up. And I was just laying in bed watching TikTok or reading Twitter or something. And I'm like, oh crap, I got to go.
Yeah, it's been an odd week at work because my boss is out of town for the week. My treasurer's out of town. My other front office secretary is out of town. Like it's been really quiet even at work, but we've had a lot of stuff kind of change over and things like that. So, but yeah, the week's over. I when where I work, we get Fridays off. So I will be assembling my new grill that I got on Father's Day that I have not even had the chance to even breathe and think about assembling. So that will be tomorrow's task.
Okay. All right.
So
there you go.
Something fun. But all right. Well, we even though we don't have big main topics at this point, but we've got a number of rumors to talk about and dream about and hopefully come true. But we will get the show plugs out of the way. So we are part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network with 8 shows. On Mondays, we've got Ranger Alliance alternating bi-weekly with Slice of Film. On Tuesdays, DC Alliance, superhero discussions on Wednesdays, which I think has moved to, the weekend as Harley Quinn is dropping, if I'm not mistaken.
I honestly don't know. Yeah, I can't keep it straight, and I get it. Yes, by all means, move the show to match the stuff you're covering. I'm just losing track of it all now between Walk the Multiverse moving for a while, and now I'm I don't even know.
It exists. It exists.
Just subscribe to the master feed, and it'll magically show up and make your day.
Exactly. So, Star Wars Alliance on Thursdays. This show on Fridays. A walk through the multiverse. Saturdays, bi-weekly, whenever it's showing up at that point.
Whenever it shows up.
But and then my show, World's Finest True Believers, on Sunday monthly. I drop my newest episode this week, my interview with Mr. Mike Grell. Even though it's a Marvel show, he did do a very interesting run of Iron Man that, if you do give a listen, he has a lot of vindication to say about his Iron Man run, on top of his most celebrated run in DC Comics, Green Arrow. So it was a great conversation, one that came about very last minute. So it was not the original episode to drop, but when Mr. Grell comes calling and says he's willing to sit down and do an interview at that point, it was a great joy, not just meeting him this year at Heroes Con, getting that sketch of Ollie, but getting a long form conversation with him. So if you haven't given it a listen, give it a download. For those, a number of you have reached out and said you really enjoyed it. So again, thank you very much. And again, thank you, Mr. Grell, for sitting down with me and talking about it. So, but we also have a Patreon. So if you want to throw a couple of shekels our way, we want to thank our patrons. We can't do this without your support. We have 2 tiers. We've got our $1 tier with our tip jar to say, hey, you think we're doing a good job? And then our $5 tier with ad-free episodes, early access episodes, and Patreon exclusive shows. Brent, we've got the episode 7 of the Avengers and item 47 of We Can Watch This All Day. And we are recording, probably our earliest recording for episode 8, Thor the Dark World, next week, tentatively right now. And but that will always drop at the end of the month. So we are very early with recording for that, because Brent and I work in education, and as we get closer to the end of August, that gets very busy for us.
Yeah, we thought it'd be best to get it in while we could. Yep.
Mm-hmm. So while summer is not slowly, it's very quickly dimming for us. But yeah, but if you can't join us on Patreon, and we totally understand, but if you could take 30 to 90 seconds and rate and review the Marvel Alliance feed, GUA solo feed, and give us that 5-star review on both those, we greatly appreciate it. So, and last but certainly not least, we want to thank our official sponsor, organicpricebooks.com, for our omnibus hardcover collected edition needs. JP and the crew at OPB have got it going on with everything you need, and these are the new Marvel books for the current final order cutoff. Again, we got a reprint of Spider-Man versus Venom, where you get the Maximum Carnage line, Novo Richard Rider, first time in print at that point. Then we've got some epic lines, the new Punisher by Jason Aaron, the conclusion of the Peter David run on Incredible Hulk, final volume 5. You know, it's very rare that we've getting volume 5s, but Marvel collected edition departments and David Gabriel and his crew have been pumping them out, celebrating everything they can. So again, use that code MarvelGUA at checkout for $2 off every single order. We want to thank them again for being an official sponsor. All right, Brent, as we see in the background, we've got some Frank Castle to talk about.
Yes, it's, there's Charlie Cox, there's Vincent D'Onofrio, and now we can talk seriously about Jon Bernthal's The Punisher.
Yes, so, Travis, when Travis was my co-host on the show, we did a whole main topic episode of what the MCU and Marvel Comics even can do with the Punisher, with what has been going on the last couple of years, with people hijacking his logo and not understanding who the Punisher is and what it represents, and basically perverting what it is. Now, we will not mince words. The Punisher is the definition of the anti-hero in its purest form at that point. So with the MCU, this would be a very difficult character to really allow to be fully formed necessary. Not impossible, but fully where we've seen him on Netflix. Well, we've talked about it. We've hoped for it. Well, we've been getting a lot of a big rumor got posted, and a number of scoopers, a number of, people that are quote unquote in the know have been retweeting this, have been kind of confirming that this is going to happen. But it has picked up. The Punisher reboot with Jon Bernthal is rumored to be announced for Disney Plus at D23. Just again, they're reading the tea leaves. Their sources are telling them, and this came from a few people. My Time to Shine, the scooper, put this out there, and then Disney Plus Informer. Now you kind of frequent them a little bit or pay attention a little bit to them. What's their kind of level of scooperdom or following?
I mean, I kind of think of them right now, probably comparing to My Time to Shine, maybe a little more because they've been around a bit longer. I don't take them to the bank. Like they're not Hollywood Reporter style. They're not Variety. They're not even Deadline, Henry Cavill, rumors aside. Like they're not. And frankly, they're probably not even like The Wrap, who I don't normally take at face value for just about anything. I usually want another source. The thing is, like, but seeing their like them, even though what they are repeating at this point, and that is effectively what they're doing. They're repeating. It still helps, right? Like, because the initial source was this Twitter account. What was it called? Marvel Source or something like that. Marvel Updates, right?
Yeah, we don't talk about them really.
No, like when I see them, if I share their thing, it's usually with a picture of like Trust a Bro, like because they don't ever say a source, and I think there is one called Marvel Source that's the same way. Like they don't ever actually say. They don't even say our sources say. They just say something as fact, and it is.
And we try in this show, like, and we said at the opening, a lot of these are a number of these stories tonight are rumors, but Brent and I, and even Travis and I, we're not just going to put out rumors unless we feel a little more confident that there's something behind it. Not with those two that he just mentioned, those Twitter accounts, things like that. Like you said, there's no sources. It's just like they're putting something out in the ether. They may be right, but it's almost like, yeah, I'm not even bothering putting this in our GUA chat as, hey, it might have happened, because there's nothing to it.
When I saw the insider account, or informer account share it, I was like, okay, now we can talk about it, because now there's somebody else believes it, somebody who doesn't just source them. Now they are sourcing them here, but like they must have reasons to believe it as well. So, and then the My Time to Shine thing came out. We don't know where their sources are from, but they're starting to get a track record. There's enough here that I'm allowing myself to hope.
It's like from Dumb and Dumber. So you're telling me there's a chance.
Or it's the hope that kills you, but one way or the other.
That's true. Now, we've heard a lot of stuff as, we were heading to SDCC, and before that Bernthal is very protective of his portrayal of the character, and rightfully so. He did an amazing job. It's not an easy part, but he brought a lot of heart to a very dark character. And like you said, it's your hat trick to bring him back at that point. So the question is, they're saying, rumored to be announced for Disney Plus at Reboot at that point. So, we get 18 episodes of Daredevil. Is it through Daredevil that we re-welcome the Defenders back into the MCU? Because that's my theory going on right now with 18 episodes. But my worry is, if we're doing that, does it just become bloated just to introduce stuff? Is it going to be shoehorned in? Is it really, that's my concern if that's what they're trying to do.
With 18 episodes, I'm not worried about things feeling bloated or shoehorned or whatever. Like, they're going to have to do something. And it's weird to talk about 18 episodes being this, like, super long thing. Because for years, most shows we watched in the comic book realms were 20 to 22, 23 episodes. And so, we're looking at even more. I think it'll be fine. And if Daredevil is the introduction or reintroduction to the MCU proper for these characters, I think that's okay, because these characters are closely tied to Daredevil. Daredevil was unquestionably, at least I guess in my opinion, so maybe you can question it, the flagship show for the Defenders, right? Daredevil's the one that started it.
Yeah.
Daredevil,
even think about like the whole. If we even want to look at like the Defenders mini series at that point, it basically still stemmed from Daredevil. It stemmed from that second season. I'm not saying the Iron Fist and some of the other shows had it, but when it comes down to it, this was directly more tied to Daredevil than any of them.
Well, and Daredevil was and then referenced like after the Defenders, like Matt Murdock was referenced in the other shows. All of the other shows referred to him at some point. When like Daredevil didn't talk about Iron Fist, but Iron Fist talked about Daredevil, right? Like just the way they went about that. it was the flagship. So it's also the only one to get a direct spinoff with the Punisher. So I'm fine with that. Like, if they want to do this, there's the rumors that in Echo, Daredevil's going to be looking for Jessica Jones, right? So, like, I could totally see that being picked up later by the Daredevil show, him finding Kristen Ritter's Jessica Jones. You know,
he's going to be in She-Hulk.
He's going to be in She-Hulk. We don't know what's happening there, but he's going to be there. If the way we're going to get Jon Bernthal back as the Punisher is in Daredevil, fine. Like, fine. Like, the rumor is he's getting his own TVMA show. Okay, whatever. Would I like a TVMA show? Sure.
Yeah.
Does he have to? Does the character demand TVMA? I would argue no. I don't think any Marvel character does.
I question that as well, just because I could say, oh, well, then it's not the pure form. Says, again, you have those shows. No one will ever take those away from you. They can't. Well, you know, depending on what streaming service you're a part of these days, we'll talk about that later. But, but you know, I will stand corrected on that. But for right now, no one will take those away from you. However,
it is kind of funny because they were taken away from Netflix.
I know. Yeah, exactly. We got them back. So, but it's always the question of, we have to accept the fact, and you and I talked about this when Daredevil was confirmed and things like that. It's not going to be the same. I'm sorry, but it's just not necessarily going to be the same. And so the sooner you accept the fact and willing to accept the fact that there might be some things you're going to like, there's going to be things you don't, there's going to be some things you never thought you'd like. We just have to wait and see and trust, because they have earned our trust to do this properly. And again, if Bernthal is coming back, that should be a big signal. Because of what I said earlier, he's very protective of this. He's not going to just come back for a payday. He's not. He doesn't need it. He's not the kind of actor that will just chase after this. So if he's coming back, we need to trust in the fact that that gives his signature. He's going to do this. I'm on board to give them a little bit of leeway for changing the character to fit whatever they're trying to do.
And that really goes true for all of them, because it's not like they're not Jennifer Lawrence and Dark Phoenix. Right? Like, they're not fulfilling a contractual obligation here. They had no contract. So if they're coming back, that's their choice to do. They can't be forced to do it. They're not mandated to do this. That is their choice. So if he is willing to come back, I'm super, super excited about it. I smiled so much at the rumor. Again, not that I take it to the bank, but it's like, okay, I will allow myself to hope. Does that mean if the Daredevil show comes and goes and there's no Punisher between now and then, that I will be disappointed? I guess, but I'm not going to mark it against the show. And if D23 happens and they don't announce his return, fine. Okay, yeah. Fine. Like, I am curious. I would like to know what their plans are for the other Defender characters. Like, I would genuinely like to hear some conversation about that, because so far, all we've heard is Kingpin and Daredevil. So officially. So I would absolutely like to hear something related to those other characters. But I mean, I've already got my top two choices back. Like, anything else is gravy.
And like we said, we've heard the rumors. Like you said, Charlie Cox, Daredevil, is going to be looking for Jessica Jones in Echo. We may even get a Jessica Jones reference in She-Hulk. We don't know how many episodes Daredevil is going to be in She-Hulk, and we could get that reference again. They're putting the breadcrumbs into place. Marvel is very good at this, you know, and people also question Marvel in the sense of, oh, you're just looking for the next best thing at that point. But it's fun. It's fun seeing this stuff. I enjoy it, and a lot of people enjoy it at that point. So if you want to question it, fine. That's your hill you want to die on, go for it. But this is what we look forward to as geeks, is saying, have those moments, point of screen. I know what that is. Oh, I know where they're heading to with that. It's fun.
You're just looking for the next big thing. To me, is up there with, this is just a cash grab. Yeah, that's what they all are. Like, they're all cash grabs. Every single movie, at least from a major studio, you've ever gone to was a cash grab. And the fun of the next thing, the fun of the Easter eggs and the teases, is just the element of Marvel movies. It's just part of what makes Marvel Marvel. It's part of who they are. It's like, it's just, you know, you go to people talk about like, I really like this director's work because I really like their style in this type of movie. I like that director because I like their style in this type. It's kind of the same idea in this case of I like Marvel's work because I love the way that they build their universes and intermingle them. And I wish more people would recognize that. I wish people would like stop thinking this is the insult that they think it is.
Yeah, and now I'll pose this question. It's like, right now in the comics, they've changed the Punisher symbol. He's the leader of the Hand.
Dude, spoilers. No, it's okay. I knew that. I haven't read it yet.
Yeah, I know you know that. That's why
I'm reading it soon, but I haven't read it yet.
They've changed the symbol. He's not using guns. He's wielding a sword at this point. He's still Frank Castle. So what do you think, if this is true, if he is coming back into this, in the climate we're in, take away the symbol, just take away a gun-toting vigilante, does that play in the MCU, or do you think they're going to have to make a change to what the Punisher is in the MCU?
I mean, putting him in charge of the Hand, I think would be kind of weird because I feel like you need to establish him in
Correct.
the MCU proper.
And the Hand.
And the Hand. And so I almost feel like, well, again, I have not read the arc. I don't like the symbol. The symbol's dumb, whatever. I can't speak to the actual story. I do think it's an interesting idea.
Yeah.
It's an interesting idea. And so I'm not opposed to the idea, but I do think you need to reestablish both of those. You probably need to reestablish Elektra, be that new or returning actress, regardless. I think you need to establish Elektra if you're going to establish the Hand. I think that would be kind of cool. In a world where they decided just to effectively continue all of the Defenders, I would be very interested in this storyline because then our Punisher is established. The Hand, Elektra, and yes, Iron Fist and the connections there all established. That would be interesting. I would not mind watching the Punisher smack around Iron Fist for a little bit. Danny Rand for a little bit. Not Colleen Wing, no. Give her, but Danny Rand, sure, smack him around for a bit. That'd be fun. That'd be. I mean, if they were going to do that, but are they going to? Even if they bring him back, we have a question about this later, so maybe we'll talk about it then. But how loosely will these be tied to the shows? We don't know. I think they need to establish these shows, and I don't obviously know the viewer numbers, but I feel like putting the Punisher on Disney Plus, even with the TVMA section, like if that's where it goes, is going to reach a Marvel audience that did not necessarily watch them on Netflix before, and so. You need to establish those. You need to build that fan base beyond people like us.
Yeah, it'll bring in, again, it's about bringing in the numbers. They have to find new ways to bring it in, and right now, I'll have to say, Moon Knight brought in some people, but I'll say this: I don't think Miss Marvel or She-Hulk are going to bring in the big subscriber numbers. I don't think they're meant to, but. I will say this. I think next year, with the potential of what shows are coming out next year, that has a big potential, including, we'll talk about a little bit later, Secret Invasion, what they're billing that as. I mean, that's going to be, if it meets expectations, that's going to be a big blockbuster for them on Disney+. A lot of these, and this is what this kind of year brought in on Disney+. New characters that we have never seen before. And whether you think they've been successful or not, it's still, they have to establish what is going on in this universe with outside of it. Here's a theory I think that how they could bring in the Punisher. The blip. The heroes are gone. The heroes are gone. Other people have to take up at that point. He could be the anti-hero when no one else was standing around. He decided to something happened at that point. I'm not saying they can't keep the thing. I'm not saying his family blipped away, but maybe the Punisher was born during the blip.
Someday a Marvel project's going to come out, and we're going to be like, not once think about were they snapped or not? Did they blip back? Today is not that day, and I think that's very, very interesting idea. And I've already wondered about Daredevil. Like, did he get snapped? Did he disappear for 5 years? I'll bring up his Daredevil's powers again later, most likely, but I would love to know his reaction to the snap if he survived it, Because what would that be like for his senses for suddenly half of all life to disappear? But regardless, yeah, that's a great way to bring in the Punisher and stuff, and maybe show us a little bit of time of what's going on during that, while at the same time reintroducing the audience to these characters.
Yeah, I'm glad you like it, Brock.
Yeah, Brock says he likes that idea. Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, well, how do that's my theory. What would you think would be a natural introduction to the character? Has he been around, or will he be reintroduced and we're retelling the origin in a different way?
I honestly don't think we need the origin again directly. We definitely don't need a long version of the origin. Sure. I could see, a 20-minute or less version of the origin. I don't think we need anything longer than that, and I will say that for every single Defenders character. Maybe with an exception of Iron Fist, Danny Rand Iron Fist, if you recast him. If you recast Danny Rand. But if we're going to have the same actor as the Punisher, I don't think we need the origin again. But maybe Incredible Hulk style. The opening montage was basically the credits, it was basically the origin, and that's it. I think that could work, but Punisher could be small time enough that the Avengers would not have necessarily gone after him, right? At that point, depending on who he was going after, might not have made a name for himself. Maybe his name makes a bigger name for himself if he survives the blip during those 5 years. But he might have been small enough that he wasn't on the Avengers' radar at the time.
Because look, and I just compare that to what Hawkeye ended up doing as Ronin. Just saying,
Right, and that would be interesting to see the two of them square off at some point.
Mm-hmm.
I could definitely see that, and we have no idea at this point if Jeremy Renner's coming back or not. If he's not, thank you for your time. But if he is, I'd love to see it. I kind of like Daredevil. I want him to use the character, but my love, and I will never pretend otherwise, my love of the Punisher character is not like it is for Daredevil. So it's not like. Yeah. Like with Daredevil, I wanted the character first, with Charlie Cox being my preferred actor. But if it wasn't going to be Charlie Cox, I understand. I get it. I'll move on. I still want to see Daredevil. With the Punisher, you take away Jon Bernthal. Okay, cool character. But I genuinely, I don't care as much if he comes back.
I agree.
I'll be honest. I don't care as much if it's not him. That's fine. I'll still happily watch it. But it'll be like the same kind of interest as any other project, not like the extra kick that Berthal's involvement would give.
Yeah, I mean, before my Punisher was Thomas Jane. I mean, that really was that was my Punisher until the show came about with Daredevil season 2, and he just, as I said, he brought a lot of just very big character for a comic book character that many people could consider to be very one note and very. He's just a gun-toting vigilante who, his family was killed by the mob, and so he's just going to take out everyone with a gun. It's like, yeah, but you read the stuff by Garth Ennis, Greg Rucka, even Jason Aaron, before this run of Punisher. I mean, this is not his first time doing Punisher. There's a lot more to this character than just gun-toting, vigilantes. So, and Bernthal gives a lot of that, brings a lot of heart to the character. So if it's not Jon Bernthal, but I think what this has shown, the love people ignited for when Charlie Cox showed up in No Way Home, Kingpin in Hawkeye, and the fact that we're getting them and the possibility of Bernthal. I mean, there's a reason why Disney's not stupid. Feige's not stupid. Even though he wasn't running the side of Netflix at that point, he knows good people. He knows what the fans are looking for, and if he can give it to them and actually like working with them, it's an easy slam dunk.
I mean, when you have somebody who is, I mean, to be fair, the Punisher is an iconic character. He has mainstream recognition, even before the Punisher show, even before he was in season 2 of Daredevil. When you have a character like that with an actor that embodies him so well. Yeah, go back to it, right? At least try to go back to it. They've already proven they're willing to do that with, our 2 other examples from the Defenders so far, 2 other confirmed examples so far. Like I said earlier, hopefully this is my personal hat trick. And really, I think a hat trick for so many people. There are 3 very, very popular interpretations.
again, there is a lot, like, with what we talked about with SDCC, people started downplaying Marvel. Oh, they're not going to bring too much. They're just going to talk about Black Panther, maybe one or two things Disney Plus. Everything's being safe for Disney D23.
That's not true.
That's not true. But there is still a lot, and Feige has not downplayed what he is going to be talking about at D23 in September. So he's trying to keep the train rolling on this. So my question to you is, what percentage do you think Punisher in some way, shape, or form is brought back to the MCU? I'm not talking about show. I'm just saying Punisher is brought up, confirmed to be returning to the MCU.
Played by Bernthal?
Yeah, played by Bernthal. We're going all in.
So at the end of D23, we will know he is back. We may just not know the specifics. What percentage?
Yeah, what percentage we get Bernthal back? Punisher is coming back to the MCU. I'm not saying percentage for a show. I'm just saying let's not be greedy right now.
So I'll give it 70% right now.
Okay, wow. Okay.
I'm pretty confident about it. I think it's going to happen.
Okay, I will go with about 65%. I'm as more and more of this kind of stuff goes there, but yeah, I would say, this week brought me a lot of hope at that point. Mr. Travis Hines in the chat saying safe. What does that word mean?
I almost said 65 and then 5 more points just for the hope. So
for the hope.
70 is where I'm sticking.
Yeah.
You're at 65.
Yeah.
I mean it's better than even odds. I'll take it right now. I'll take it.
Because remember, there was a time that we were like, there's no way they're bringing the Defender shows to Disney Plus, and here we are.
I would have bet and lost a lot of money that they would have gone to Hulu. I didn't think that they would just let them go because they were finished shows they could add to their streaming service. Yeah. Why would you not add them? That would be asinine. So you might as well have them on your service if they're finished. I just thought they'd go on the other streaming service.
And the whole idea too, they've now got, the parental lock, things like that. Besides the Defenders, they reminded people about it with Multiverse Madness, because that does have some pretty intense scenes in there. Not like Defenders level, but still probably their most horror-like movie that can get pretty graphic at times. So you've got this parental lock at that point. I'm not saying I'll stand the line from Wedding Crashers. Earmuffs at that point. Don't need to celebrate it and it'll go crazy. But let's start using this. And again, Daredevil's the first step. Guarantee you that's going to be TVMA. That's going to be really going towards it. Let's take another step by bringing Punisher back and doing something with it.
Yes.
So, but okay, Travis Hines doesn't like us saying hope either.
Well, on my planet it means hope, Travis.
Oh yes, it does. On all our planets, So. All right, let's take our first ad break before we get into more of the news topics tonight. So again, listeners, these are the ads that help keep the lights on the Geek Ultimate Alliance network. We don't get to choose what ads come on, and they could be a bit loud, so I'm going to give you that 3 count to turn that volume down before they come on. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. And we are back. So, well, we got a very interesting surprise with She-Hulk that I wasn't seeing coming, and I don't think you were seeing coming at that point, but we have a date change for She-Hulk and when it's going to be dropping.
Another delay. You just can't count on anything.
I know, you can't at that point. Just one day. Just one day. Right? She-Hulk is going to move release days from Wednesdays to Thursdays. So originally set to premiere Wednesday, August 17th. It is now moving to Thursday, August 18th, and that will be the day. Thursday will be the release day for She-Hulk. So thankfully not. It's a pro and con for Brent and I. We liked Wednesdays because it allowed us to watch the show at least more than once. It allowed us to also get our thoughts together on assembling our breakdowns and things like that. So the good news is this show doesn't have to move, somewhere else that we're talking about it late. Bad news for both of us is we may not get to watch it more than once, and I definitely will probably be going up to the clock every week in assembling breakdowns as we get this. So what do you think about this move? Like pros and cons with it?
I mean, for me, the biggest con is what you said. It's selfishly for the show, for this show, Marvel Alliance. I would love to be able to get 2 viewings in minimum, plus any time to do research that I like to do. And you normally do the same thing: get a couple viewings in and the research you like to do. I will miss that opportunity because the time just isn't going to be there. Like, there's just no getting around it. The time is not going to be there. Maybe depending on how long the episodes are, I can get 2 viewings back to back. But I really preferred it when I had time to research a little because, like, hey, maybe I missed something and then I can go back and revisit it and make sure I pick up on it later. So, okay, for the podcast, bummer. For everything else in the world, I don't really care. Like, it's fine. What Thursdays, Wednesdays, whatever. It does kind of stink if that's the day going forward because that's movie preview night, and so I don't know what that's going to mean.
Oh yeah, we let's not. The good thing is right now, She-Hulk is the last Disney Plus show for us, I believe, for the year.
It is, and it'll be done before Black Panther in November. Yep. So, okay, good. But what about all the movies next year? What about the shows next year? If Thursday becomes the new day. Now, when Loki, people forget, I think, that Loki was the first show to drop on a Wednesday.
Correct.
For them, for Disney Plus. It did so well, they moved all of their drops to Wednesdays.
Because when was the original drop for
Friday.
WandaVision? Well, Friday, yes.
Fridays.
Okay.
Yep. And Falcon the Winter Soldier was also Friday. And so Loki, they moved to Wednesdays. And I honestly don't even remember why the move. I believe the Bad Batch was happening at the same time. But surely they weren't like worried about that. But I got to think that this is primarily a goal. The goal is to basically separate out Star Wars and Marvel.
Yeah, because Andor will premiere about halfway through She-Hulk's season.
Right. They delayed that a few weeks because that was going to be August 31st, and now it's September 21st with 3 episodes. Trailer looked great, by the way.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm not committing to getting up early before work to watching those by any means, but I will absolutely be all over it. I got to think, though, that they just ultimately felt like Ms. Marvel and Kenobi cannibalized their early numbers. And maybe they care about those early numbers more, but you got to think anyone who wanted to watch both, watched both. Just maybe not immediately, but like I would be willing to bet anyone who was interested in both those shows found time to watch both of them throughout the weeks and was never more than a few days behind.
Yeah, and I'll say this, Andor is going to be a longer form show in the sense of how long the episodes are. She-Hulk, we don't have a full official word, but they have said so many words that this is going to be like a 30-minute, procedural comedy for them at that point.
At this point, I'm hoping is true.
Yeah.
Just so I can watch them twice, because then I would have time to watch them twice in the mornings. Still wouldn't get to do that research in the middle, but better than nothing.
And I'll tell you the breakdowns that I go to and things like that and listen to and things like that, they also will be quicker about it because it's a shorter episode. It's shorter episodes. They can do quicker breakdowns that way.
Yeah, and so that'll be nice for She-Hulk, but what about for I don't know, whatever's next, Secret Invasion, right? Like, what about for that?
We'll worry about that next year. We'll worry about that next year.
We'll worry about that then. But and ultimately, I don't really care. It's not that big a deal to me in the grand scheme of things.
First world podcasting problems.
Sure. And I think separating out Marvel and Star Wars makes a lot of sense. I would just choose to separate them out by spreading it out on the calendar. I would have no overlap at all. Unless, like, you literally had 52 weeks of content filled. I would have no overlap at all between Marvel and Star Wars. They are the 2 biggest IP for Disney Plus right now. Mm-hmm. I don't know why you ever would want to do that. Maybe week to week, like She-Hulk ends and next week Andor begins. But why they ever overlap them, I don't understand. But
yeah, and I think when we did the count for episodes, Andor will end mid to end November. I think November 20th or 21st or something like that. It kind of sticks out in my mind.
How many episodes is Andor? Is it 12?
I think it's 12. I asked that to Katie the other day, and I thought I'd committed to memory, but I haven't
listened to Star Wars Alliance yet this week. So if they I know they talked about Andor. If they talked about the episode count, I'm sorry guys, I haven't heard it yet. I will.
But anyways, I know it was mid to end November. It ends at that point, so we already know Mando season 3 does not come out until early next year. So that's not interfering. Bad Batch is still, I believe, on the date, but that's a show that they did drop on Fridays. It wasn't necessarily the must-see event, season 1. I'm glad it's getting a season 2. I enjoyed aspects of it. I'm curious to see what happens with season 2.
I'll watch it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was kind of Star Wars filler for me, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
But I liked it enough. I'll watch it.
Mm-hmm. So like, I'm with you, separating the two so they don't everyone gets their own kind of special day at that point. And I even brought up to you, people brought up certain things. Oh, Thursdays is HBO and you got, I know Paramount, since I'm a Star Trek fan, Paramount was their Star Trek shows, drops them that morning. Amazon Prime does their stuff on Fridays, but, with The Boys and certain other ones, they'll do like Thursday nights at that point. But really, even HBO, right now it's just Harley Quinn that's dropping early in the morning. Yeah, I'll watch it. It's a half an hour show in the morning at that point, but nothing else really has garnered for HBO Max on Thursday mornings necessarily. Like, you have to must see it. So really, Disney can still get in on the Thursday action and more own it than other programs do. I think, like I said, the next best thing on Thursdays is Paramount Plus's Star Trek shows. That's it.
This is going to sound way more sarcastic or like I'm throwing shade than I mean. This is genuine. Yeah. HBO Max on Fridays may not be that big of a deal if you believe the rumors, or if you've even heard the rumors that allegedly they're going to be scaling way back on their scripted content.
Yep.
Because non-scripted reality television, like, that's not the same demographic at all. So honestly, Fridays may become open for at least as far. I mean, I know Netflix drops on Fridays, but the HBO Max portion, or you were, I think it was you who were telling me they drop a lot on Sundays.
Yeah. I mean, their premiere content usually is Sunday nights. That's always been HBO.
Some of that stuff is, I think, going to be less of an issue.
Yeah, well, that was like, I think it's Max Originals that are doing kind of like wherever they're dropped. But yeah, your HBO proper content, their premiere stuff's always been Sunday nights. So that's something that it's not even there. But again, we're still going to be we're still going to be going live Thursday nights, dropping on the feeds on Friday mornings at that point. So again, a little bit selfishly, we would like an extra time, but Brent, whatever it takes for the listeners, for the people, for you, the people.
The people, yes.
All right, so next up on the docket is Secret Invasion. Now, there were a lot of rumors going around that this show might actually possibly drop for us this year, but that was quickly changed and reversed as they changed the background to the Civil War comic, Secret Invasion comic at that point. So this is coming from straight from Marvel, describing Secret Invasion as a crossover event series. And this is the first time that an MCU Disney Plus series has been officially labeled a crossover. And this is what was said. This was brought up by Colby Smothers at SDCC. She said, this is a darker show. We're going to get deeper into the characters. We're going to see them in new ways, and it's going to be exciting thriller. And you're never going to know who the people are. Are they a Skrull? Are they human? It's going to be a guessing game. So the article recaps some of the footage from Secret Invasion exclusive trailer. We're not going to go into that here. We'll wait for when it's out there proper. But they really do lean in hard into the idea of, the people you know and around you, who do you trust? I mean, we already know Nick Fury's in this. We know Rhodey's in this. We know, Talon and some of the other Skrulls that we've seen from, Captain Marvel. There may be some other ones out there that we don't know about yet. I mean, we know Emilia Clarke, Olivia Colman are both playing big roles in this. So it is very interesting that they have deemed this the first Disney Plus crossover event.
Yeah, I kind of like that they're doing that. I mean, it seems inevitable they would do one. And the word event, I think, takes it up a level, because I kind of feel like Falcon and Winter Soldier was sort of a crossover. I mean, a mixture of characters. She-Hulk with Hulk. Like, we have seen other characters cross over. But with this, even WandaVision, you could argue, was because you had Jimmy Woo from the Ant-Man, you had Darcy from Thor in a WandaVision project. But as an event, like, it's different. It implies a different scale. What does this mean for the episode count, for the runtime? I don't know. Let's hope it's somewhere between 6 and 18 for our two extremes. Looking for that 8 or 9 episode series that has the longer 40, 45-minute episodes. but it's exciting. It's really exciting to see what they're going to do. I'm really curious how they're going to translate this really epic event from the comic books to live action.
Yeah, and with, it's just a question of what kind of quote-unquote cameos are we going to get, because they're Skrulls. They can turn into other people,
Yeah.
And so we don't know where in the timeline this is going to take place.
Well, that just changed the fact or fiction. All right, we'll do that for a little bit.
I mean, I personally don't know where it fits. I've heard weird rumors like, oh, it takes place during the blip. I said, well, that's kind of strange because Nick Fury's in this. I'm not saying, again, Talon doesn't portray him, but Talon proper is playing himself in this.
Oh, so, Talos, yeah.
I don't know why I can say Talon. Talos.
Well, Talon. I mean, that's all right. You're watching Gargoyles or something, probably.
Yeah, maybe. But it's just very fascinating of the idea. Now we've also heard rumors, and I really hope they're true too. Chloe Bennett reprising her role, and we get Daisy Johnson back as Quake in the MCU. That would be freaking awesome.
The rumors I've heard around her specifically called her out as being a variant of her S.H.I.E.L.D. character, which is funny because that's okay. The one that prior to this had the best chance of being canonized. But regardless, yes, please bring back Chloe Bennett. Like her as Quake, absolutely. That would be really cool. And if they wanted to truly bring in the show, I wouldn't have any. I stand at the, it hasn't been canon, not for a long time, but I'd be fine if they, truly brought it back in. So variant or not, yes, please show us Quake.
Yeah. So I've neglected the chat. Oh, here we go. Call me Top Gun. It's been a while, Top Gun. Yes, I am back at that point. You are back. You have disappeared, but glad to have you peek into Marvel Alliance. Welcome back, Brock. Jalapeno.
That's a Gargoyles reference there.
Oh, gotcha. Sorry. Yeah, gotcha. I caught that reference now. Thank you.
Understood that reference. I'm with you, Brockman. I'm with you.
Yes, there we go. So, all right. Well, we go from crossovers to we're gonna get a little strange now. Not Doctor Strange, but Werewolf by Night Strange. So this is we're gonna take this with a very big grain of salt.
I almost said, should we even talk about it? I won't lie. I almost said, and then I'm like, we have time.
It's fun, and even the last story, it's not really a story. It's the first kind of talking about with our last story tonight about some confirmation and some ideas. So, Werewolf by Night. So this is coming from a newer scooper. It's called "Can We Get Some Toast?" Interesting name, but we haven't heard really anything much official coming out confirmed by the MCU outside of maybe we know Michael Giacchino is directing this. All right. I can't even remember the actor that we are pretty confirmed on as playing Werewolf by Night.
I'm not sure, honestly.
It was a while ago. We just haven't heard it. And then I think we got Elsa Bloodstone rumored casting for that. So that's about it. We haven't seen a trailer. It didn't get brought up in the SDCC. In September, it's going to be possibly a month away. So I stand corrected. This is She-Hulk will be the last Disney Plus show proper. This is a special. This is going to be our first special, deemed special MCU show. So this is what they said. They said some new. So if you don't want to know anything about Werewolf by Night, skip ahead. Maybe, what do you say, Brent? 2 or 3 minutes?
Yeah, that'll do it.
So he says, saw some stuff from Marvel Halloween Special, Werewolf by Night. It's very, very camp. It's cheap looking, old school, and it's all done intentionally. I can see some people liking it for those reasons. It definitely won't be for everyone. Also, Werewolf by Night suit is awful. If you were expecting a CGI badass werewolf, expect 1984 Teen Wolf instead. I will add that this is my subjective take on what I saw. Obviously, you can see it and might love it. In my opinion, I thought it was pretty poor. So, in the background, if you're watching for live, this is a portrayal this is Werewolf by Night in the comics. So, hearing this, I like the idea of the camp. I could see this being filmed in a very kind of grainy kind of idea of really honing in on the old kind of thriller-esque kind of stuff. The Teen Wolf thing, if it's true, I got to see it in live action to really give full judgment. Because even like I said, this is my opinion. It wasn't for me, you know, and this has been this year for Disney Plus shows has definitely been a little experimental for Disney's MCU. This would definitely probably go on the you're definitely trying something with this.
I don't love the Teen Wolf comparison.
Yeah.
The rest of it, the camp, whatever, that's fine. Sure, sounds entertaining, good enough. The Teen Wolf comparison, maybe if it's like a partial transition state and it's not the final form, okay, cool. But if that's truly the final form, all right, you're gonna get knocked for that one. Like, there's no getting around it. Like, that's not really gonna cut it. But ultimately, I have no attachment to this character. Let's be honest. So and it's one special or whatever. I don't care. Like, it's fine. I will be there. I will watch it. I will, whatever day it comes out, I will get up early and watch it. But I'm not going to be losing sleep over it.
Yeah. Top Gun's asking, I mean, honestly, Sony should do Werewolf by Night and add it to the Morbius cinematic universe. Now, that would be Morbin.
It's Morbin time.
It's Morbin time. It says, on that experimental point, do you think this experimental phase has been successful?
By what criteria?
Yeah.
I've been extraordinarily entertained. So,
yes.
Yeah, for me, yes.
Yeah, I've liked what they did with Moon Knight to varying degrees at that point. I think Miss Marvel really hit it out of the park, in my opinion. I'll say it again, and I'm just going to stick by it right now, that She-Hulk is going to surprise a lot of people. A lot of people are going to like it more than they think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But he asked earlier, he said, I know this is a Marvel thing. What do you think on Fan Come Tomorrow? I have seen episode 1. I was given access to episode 1 by Netflix, and it was... For a person that has the Sandman series is in my top 10 of all time, that episode warmed my heart. They did justice by it, so I'm very excited.
Good.
Yep. But he said, agreed. I think they really created stories to appeal to wider audience. Okay, that's what. Gotcha. Okay, so we'll see. We'll see what they've got with that idea. So moving on to our last story. With this is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. So last but not least, we have our main villain going on the record with a bunch of different, bloggers and trades. So in a chat with Collider, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Chukwudi Iwuji gave, I butchered that name immensely, so... gave some insight into his character, the High Evolutionary from Marvel Studios, saying, Shady doesn't even touch it. He is narcissistic, sociopathic, but very charming. I couldn't have thought of a better character that uses a skill set better to join the MCU with, because there's something very Shakespearean about him. There's something very emotionally dark about him, and he's a lot of fun on top of that. The costume, like you mentioned, the day I put it on, because he looks very different from how it is in the comics, but that costume just works. There's something about putting it on, which I'm glad you mentioned, because a big part of my performance is that costume. I spoke with Screen Rant and continued on saying, well, the High Evolutionary, who's been around for eons, he's connected to a hell of a lot of characters in this movie. I've been seeing a lot of talk about it being Rocket specifically. But actually, he's connected to a lot of people. So let's just say he affects a lot of people's lives in not so nice way. And then finally closes out with Entertainment Weekly saying, I'm still processing that I've stepped into this world. It was crazy for me just because I've said before, I saw the first movie in Times Square as a fan. As you can have a perfectly successful career as an actor, never come close to being part of anything like this. And that's real. That's the reality of it. So I pinch myself pretty often, and I saw the trailer backstage at SDCC, and before I went on, and I'm watching this thing and saying, there's just something slightly surreal about the fact that I'm a part of this, especially when you have the quintessential of James Gunn moments, like when they jump out and it's slow motion and the music kicks in, and you're just like, oh my God. That thing I feel when I saw, whether it was this or Suicide Squad or the Peacemaker, I'm just observing it now as an audience member. I'm a part of it, and I still haven't quite clicked with that, So I love what he's talking about, the High Evolutionary, because this is the High Evolutionary I want.
I mean, it sounds like it's going to be a great character. It sounds like they're capturing who the character is. Sure, other connections to others is fine and great. The one I'm most looking forward to, the one I'm most interested in, is that history with Rocket. Absolutely, it is.
So, but like he said, he's connected to a lot more than just Rocket. So that'll be very interesting to see what kind of connections he is going to have with this. So, all right. So, but that is it for the news. So we will take our final ad break before we get into listener feedback. So, listeners, these ads again keep the lights on at the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network. We don't get to choose what ads come on. They can be a bit loud, so I'll give you that 3 count before they come on. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. All right, Brent. So we've got some listener questions. You put out the Spidey signal, and our fans came a calling. So hit me with those questions.
Yeah, we got a few. From D Smith 1129, do they reference the earthquake from Endgame that Black Widow asked about in Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, which was the scene when they were having the space-time meeting, the space FaceTime meeting, and Widow said, there's an earthquake, how are we handling it? Okoye says it was an earthquake under the ocean. We handle it by not handling it. Well, I think they are going to have to handle it, as it turns out. What do you think? Are they going to reference that?
Maybe. I'm giving it maybe a 20% reference. You know, it's they don't have to call back to that line.
You know, I don't remember if it was Marcus McFeely, the writers, or the Russos who directed it. At some point, they were asked about that line and was that a Submariner reference? And they said no, it's not. And I'm like, I never quite believed you. That said, that doesn't feel like a line they directly need to reference. Like, how would they do it? Okoye was the only Wakandan there, right? So what's she going to say? Well, this one time I told Black Widow that we don't deal with earthquakes under the water. So now my guess is that, like, we all pretty much know it was a precursor, and that'll be enough.
Yeah. So, yeah. Like I said, I'm about 20%. It's not one they have to acknowledge in order to make it work. So.
All right. DC Outlaw sent a couple. First one, do you think the symbiote tease at the end of No Way Home will be followed up on or in an unannounced, I almost misread that, in an unannounced Spider-Man project in the Phase 6 slate? A random Sony movie like the Blueprint Madam Web, or in Secret Wars like it was introduced in the comics.
I appreciate you making sure we bring in some Madam Web action tonight. What do you think about this one, Brent?
I don't think it'll be in a Sony-specific movie. Like, not a Sony, let's call it a Sony solo movie where Marvel Studios is not involved. Because that piece of symbiote is in the MCU. It was left behind there. I don't see them picking it up in Kraven, or, you know, if they ever made the Silver Sable movie or Black Cat movie or whatever. Madam Web's a little different because I actually think there's a potential there for some universe hopping, but probably not even there. If it gets picked up anywhere, I think it would be a Sony Marvel Studios Spider-Man movie. I think that specifically is where we would see it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's one of those things where I agree with you that it needs to stay in the MCU. I'm struggling right now since we have our full Phase 5, and I don't know necessarily with Phase 6 how many, properties we got left. We don't know when Holland's going to come back. He's got that random cameo, that random team-up appearance that he's got to fulfill his contract, and so nothing. So there may not be a Spider-Man proper movie until after Phase 6.
No, I disagree. They're not going to go all the way from 2021 to when is Avengers Secret Wars coming out? 2025? I don't see them going that far.
I don't want it. I'm just saying there is a possibility.
Not even a what. I think from a business standpoint, I think that'd be crazy if they did that. Mm-hmm. But and you got to remember, the Spider-Man movies have never been announced with the rest of the phases. They've always been announced other times because Sony is the one who announces them, or they're joint releases between Sony and Marvel. I could see one or two more Spider-Man movies in general happening. maybe one more Spider-Man movie between now and Avengers Secret Wars. Go with DC Outlaw's idea here of him picking up the symbiote in Secret Wars. Even if they're drawing mostly from the Hickman era version, this would be a nice callback to the 80s one. Well, at the same time, they could then have a follow-up movie of Spider-Man with the black suit afterwards, which would give Holland about 3 more appearances. I could see something like that happening.
Yeah, there might be the big signal for that is if they conclude the slate at D23 with the rest of Phase 6, and you and I find they say there's a big hole somewhere that they could put a movie.
Well, especially because,
like you said, they won't announce it because it's not what they do usually with the Spider-Man movies. But you could easily read between the tea leaves how movies are releasing and shows are releasing, and if we find a big gap, that could be where we get our next Spider-Man proper movie.
Not just that, but so far, we're in Phase 4. 3 of the 4 phases have had or will have an epilogue.
Yeah.
Effectively, Ant-Man was an epilogue to Phase 2. There was nothing for Phase 1. Far From Home was the epilogue to Phase 3. And James Gunn said the Guardians Holiday Special was like an epilogue to Phase 4. He said that on Twitter the other day.
Yeah.
I could see them they could do another Spider-Man movie right after Secret Wars that picks up with the suit. But I still think they will have a solo Spider-Man movie between now and then. The only real question is, will it star Tom Holland or someone else? But there will be a Spider-Man movie between now and then. They're not going to go 5 years or 4 years without development of one.
Yeah, I would like to agree with you. I just wanted to put that out in the ether, not because I want it, just because...
Well, I wanted to squash it. I want more.
I
want Spider-Man.
Yes. Give me Spider-Man. Bring in all the Spideys again. Let's bring Ben Reilly. Bring Miguel in there. Bring Miles. Let's get them all.
Make it all happen. Live action Spider-Verse. Do it.
Yes.
Okay. DC Outlaw's other question: what are your predictions for the missing Phase 6 projects? Do you think they'll reveal them at D23?
I say yes. Reveal at D23. I think they will finish the slate out. I think that's what they said. We've got a lot more to announce. So obviously we've got Phase 5, so it's Phase 6.
I mean, yeah, the entire slate, maybe not, but we're definitely getting more of it, but for sure. And you might be right about that. The entire slate, they've already told us effectively how it begins and ends, right? Mm-hmm. The Fantastic Four with Avengers Secret Wars. Fill in those gaps in the middle. What do you think might be in the middle there? What do you think some other projects are? I'm going to go ahead and say a Spider-Man movie. We're going to put that out there.
I will say Deadpool 3.
Actually, I say that. When is Fantastic Four's release date? November 8th, 2024. Mm-hmm. Man, is Fantastic Four actually the start of?
Yeah. He says that's the start of Phase 5.
And they're ending Phase 5 with Secret Wars?
Yes.
Or Phase 6 with Secret Wars?
Yes.
Man, I guess that's about a year, but dang, that's a fast one.
Yeah, I'll say Deadpool because we've seen the pictures coming out that he's in the middle of training.
I think the Young Avengers or Champions or something along those lines. And because I absolutely do not believe these rumors that they can't use the X-Men, I think that would have got picked up by some more legitimate news sources, let's say, if that were true by now. I think we'll have at least one mutant starring project that's not Miss Marvel.
Yeah, I agree. I think X-Men will have to be introduced. I will be personally disappointed if we somehow make it through Phase 4, Phase 5, and Phase 6 with no X-Men proper project.
Oh, and I mean, at this point, Eternals 2 maybe just got confirmed by Patton Oswalt. Moon Knight Season 2 may have just gotten confirmed by Oscar Isaac, actually.
Yeah.
There was a little video he put out that certainly heavily implied it.
Well, he didn't put it out. Some TikToker who happened to be near him at that point.
I mean, he was in it, but yes.
Yeah.
I don't like. I maybe it's a cop out, but somewhere that time, I think we will get additional seasons of existing shows other than What If, other than Loki, like other than the animated shows that have been announced for multiple seasons, or Loki, which obviously is working on season 2 now. Like, there's no way they're not going to do another second season of some of these others.
I could see them doing a Bucky-centric show.
I would love that.
Maybe going by the codename Nomad.
I would love that.
How about another one? I'll give you another one. We get our Nova movie.
I mean, at this point, yeah, I want it, but I'm like, they lost me with the whole immediate potential thing on this character. I'm like, I'll believe it when I see it. But I mean, Nova will happen someday because for the characters like they haven't gone to, he's probably one of the bigger ones still. Obviously, not counting the X-Men, who, all the X-Men in general are much bigger than Nova is. But for the non-X-Men characters, he's pretty big one that they haven't utilized at all. Yep. And so, I mean, yeah, the Nova Corps was in Guardians, but it wasn't the same.
We didn't see anyone suit up.
No, not for real.
I think we got
I could see them doing like a Disney Plus project for like Darkhawk or Night Thrasher someday, like something like that.
A new Halloween special.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, we got something. Oh, Blade's coming in Phase 5, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we got that. So maybe a Midnight Suns project confirmed. Ghost Rider, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. So yeah, let's go with Midnight Suns, Young Avengers, stuff like that. Brock mentions in the chat, as much as he wants to see the X-Men, he just feels like it'll be a while longer before they're introduced. Yeah, I mean, you could make an argument for it from that standpoint, just because the longer separation they have between X-Men Apocalypse, X-Men Dark Phoenix, maybe the better. But I don't believe, Charles Xavier's variant aside in Multiverse of Madness, I just feel like we're going to get a live action X-Men. Is X-Men 97 just there to tide us over, the appetizer? Maybe, but maybe. I don't see them going that far without doing something.
Mm-hmm. And All in the Game asking us likelihood of X-Men having no involvement in the saga.
I mean, you can make an argument that with Charles Xavier, they've had some involvement, but that's not the spirit of what he's asking. Yeah. I don't think it's likely. I think we're going to see the X-Men.
Yeah, I think so. So I'll go with 80%. Non-involvement? No, I go 20%. 20%, sorry. Top Gun saying, Blade will be awesome. I think Disney handled the darker stories decently. Blade will really be their first go-around with ultra-violent character.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, we still don't have a release date for Deadpool. We don't even technically know will Deadpool be in the MCU proper or not.
No, we said no. Feige has said.
Did he say it's an MCU proper?
He said he will be in the MCU.
Okay. Yeah. Then I'm forgetting that line, but great.
I'm fairly confident because Feige is the one who confirmed Daredevil's. Deadpool's will be in the MCU.
Okay, perfect.
So. All right. Any other questions we got?
Yeah, one last one from David. Will Disney Plus pull a Constantine with Punisher and make him a loose continuation, or just a brand new character with the same actor? Dave and I were talking the other day about the Punisher rumors, and a coworker who enjoys the shows asked about it, like, will it be the same one? And David brought up Constantine and explained the NBC show ended after one season, and then the character went on the Legends of Tomorrow, Arrow and Legends of Tomorrow. If you haven't seen those, it was the same actor with the same costumes, maybe the same history. I don't really remember them definitively saying yes or no to that. So I think Astrid was recast at some point, but I mean, the kid grew up, so the child actress who played her, so that's to be understood. I mean, that kind of fits with what I think is going to happen. They're not going to flat out confirm or deny the Netflix era. What do you think? Yeah,
I think it looses. I say there's a looser, very, very, very loose continuation. It's basically. One could say, oh, well, it's brand new. It's like, yeah, you're not necessarily wrong, but...
I feel like at this point, the biggest downsides to not continuing the era is probably the Hand in general as a concept. And Bullseye.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so, those other than that, even like Jigsaw and stuff, who they were afraid to actually give a Jigsaw face to.
And they also didn't give a Bullseye name either.
You're right. I understood that reference. They didn't give a Bullseye name to it. So Dex or Billy Russo, it'd be cool to have those characters back, but Bullseye's probably the one I would be the most interested in. But I don't know. I think it'll be the loose continuation.
Yeah, Top Gun saying, I think it will depend on DD. Honestly, if they say Netflix is canon, it's a continuation. If not, I don't know what they'll do.
I agree.
Yep.
I agree. It'll all hinge on Daredevil, which we have decided is the flagship show.
Exactly. It may as well be the blueprint, right?
I mean, if not from Adam Webb, it would be.
It would be. All right. So thank you all for sending in those questions. So let me pull up the fact or fictions from last week. So here is number one. In Kraven the Hunter, though the chameleon will be thought of as the main villain, it will actually be Kraven's father, Vladimir. 73% at fact, 27% at fiction. SBub actually commented saying, could be the other way as well. We think the main villain is Kraven's father, and it ends up being the chameleon. Number two, there will be a major death in Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. That will be either Hank or Janet. And this is one of those rare occasions, 100% fact. We don't get those too often. So Hank and Janet are not long for this world. And number three, the Thunderbolts will not be necessarily the MCU's version of the Suicide Squad, but instead they will be positioned as the premier superhero team, since at the time there will still not be an official new Avengers team that exists. 56% said fact, 44% said fiction. All right, Brent, your turn this week. What do you got?
Real quick, before we can do those, Top Gun asked what the benefits would be of not continuing Daredevil and stuff. Asked that in the chat. Mm-hmm. I think the benefits is getting to put the Marvel Studios stamp on those types of stories, especially Born Again, which we know they're using the title of. Getting to work with those characters again, getting to use their own versions of Bullseye and Jigsaw, etc. I think that would be the benefit. It's just not what most people want.
Yeah, makes sense. I agree.
Okay, I didn't want to let that go.
Yeah. No, it's a good question.
Fact or fictions for me this week. We're going to start off with this. There will be at least one solo. Let me rephrase that. There will be at least one mutant project. I'm confusing myself. Scratch that. There will be one solo mutant project prior to a X-Men team movie, not counting Deadpool. One solo mutant project prior to an X-Men team movie, not counting Deadpool.
Or Miss Marvel. I will say fiction. It's not a strong fiction, but I will say fiction just because I've said it before and we've had similar kind of discussions. The general audience will flock to a movie that says something X-Men. Uncanny X-Men, Astonishing. What do you want to put it at that point? Not saying they wouldn't do for a solo project, but it'll have to be a heck of a character for them to think that, okay, now we're starting to get into the X-Men.
I'm going to say fiction as well. I pretty much agree with you. I think the only character that they realistically would consider is Wolverine.
Yes.
Like for a solo project, I mean, maybe that's because historically Wolverine's the only character with successful solo stories, like in comics and things like that.
Yeah.
But, and I still feel like part of them maybe wants to spread the distance out from Hugh Jackman a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, what you got?
All right. Daredevil will appear in Secret Invasion. I'm thinking his powers might be kind of useful there.
Yeah, he was he's been rumored a little bit before we even got his confirmation of being in No Way Home. I mean, it's Cox's world. We're just living in it. I'm gonna go fact, just because there's been some smoke with the rumors, so I'm gonna go fact on that.
I'm gonna go fact as well, but it's not a strong fact. There's definitely some wish casting here, but I think his powers could be useful for him.
Top Gun for the first one is saying fiction. He is saying Top Gun's also saying fact as well for this one.
All right, last one, also Secret Invasion related. A squirrel will impersonate a young Steve Rogers. And just to be clear, wait a minute.
What did you? No, go back. What did you say? Oh, a squirrel. Sorry, I thought you said a squirrel. I was like, huh?
Oh, sure, a squirrel. Squirrel girl a squirrel will impersonate a young Steve Rogers. And just to be specific, I mean a not old man Steve. I don't mean like a kid, just basically Steve Rogers as Chris Evans is.
Super soldier?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I could see the emotional toll on that could be. It would definitely give them. It would. Brock said he heard squirrel too.
I'll own it. That's fine.
um, that could be a moment we would know in the sense of, oh, it's a scroll. General audience, on the other hand, they might have a moment. So
I like the idea of this a lot. I don't know if they would use Chris Evans, if they talked him into returning, if they would use him this way.
I mean, we had that rumor from Deadline that
we did. That's what I can't get out of my head. So
I like it. I'm gonna say fact, not a strong fact, but I say fact just because I like the potential of what that could do to screw with people in a project that is about literally screwing with people's minds.
I'm going to go ahead and go with fact again, but just on the 55-45, like just across the line. They might do it, and it could be something that's like a 1 or 2 day gig for him, low commitment, and he wouldn't have to get all massively buffed out or anything to do it. So we'll see. It would certainly be interesting if they did.
I mean, his payment could just be an iPhone 6. I mean, he apparently loves that phone so much and has regretted the day he had to give it up.
He does, and he's like, I don't want the SE, and I'm like, dude, it's the same form factor. It's like it is like you cannot tell the difference basically between them, but whatever. The man likes what he likes.
He does like what he likes at that point, whatever it takes. So, all right. Well, we will post those on Sunday afternoon, so make sure to let your voices be heard. Top Gun is saying 51% fiction for him, so he's on the edge as well. But so we will post those online, so make sure to let your voices be heard, and we will transition to our comic book club, Secret Wars number 4. Very Doom-focused issue this time.
Yes, absolutely. And kind of explaining that Doom is God to the heroes who survived last week and were found.
Yeah, especially kind of taking, the heroes that have survived this, basically taking Strange to task about you allowing this. Like, it's Doom. Why are you doing this? Why are you going in line with him?
Yeah, I the beginning of this, just with all the Thors fighting and stuff, I love that. But what I really want to call out is, like, I love how the Phoenix Cyclops come in, and he's just like, well, he thinks he's God, but I am a God, and I'm going to stand up to him. Now, we know that didn't work out for him very well.
No.
But it was still really cool to see. But just seeing all these different Thors in the middle of all these battles and stuff, I really get a kick out of that.
Yeah, he did listen. He did follow the Winston Zedmore idea of, when he says someone asks you a god, you say yes. So in this case, Cyclops was right. He did say that he was a god. It didn't, like you said, it unfortunately doesn't work out well for him. And it's kind of like, it almost is laughable in the sense of like how, Cyclops is throwing everything he's got at Doom, and Doom just grabs him and freaking snaps his neck.
Just demolishes him. He's nothing.
And even later on, like when we get to the end of the series, there was a time that Cyclops didn't come back.
Yeah. Thankfully that they did away with that.
They did correct that at that point, but that means at that point, was Cyclops wrong?
No.
Okay.
No. I will not entertain such heresy.
Such slander. But this definitely wasn't my favorite issue. Like I like kind of the backstory about it at that point. It's definitely on the lower tier of it, but the moments it does shine is where Doom is getting challenged. Doom is getting, questioned about everything about, can he hold on to this existence that he's created? He is basically standing toe to toe, like, I am not letting you take this away from me. This is everything I've ever wanted. I will not tolerate any of you all that came from this false reality to take it away from me.
There is a page that looks like Thanos and his crew are about to team up with the heroes from our known 616 universe to take on Doom. Now, it doesn't quite go that way. They sort of more do the I'm going to let one or two people at a time face on him. Well, that way they can just get crushed and demolished. But briefly, for just a second there, I was like, oh man, they're going to go for it. No, they don't. But, one or two at a time. But one person did stand up to him at the end there.
Oh, yeah. And Strange did stand up to him. And he said, I love what he says, well, you know what, old friend, I think you should be. And he just obliterates him. Doom just destroys him.
Yeah, Steven had he basically teleported everyone else away to get him away from Doom. Doom doesn't know where they're at because he's not technically omnipotent, and he doesn't know where they went. But Steven, he stood up to him. Yeah, like you said, he should be afraid of Reed Richards at this point. And that did not go over well at all.
Yeah, so Strange is done. Cyclops is done. So body count is slowly adding up. I mean, Jamie Braddock is also done. I doubt he survived the Marvel Zombies.
No.
So body count is rising, and looks like Doom's on the cover of the next one, so we might get a little bit more. But I mean, Doom's paradise is slowly being chipped away right now. He may be winning these stuff, but slowly but surely they're chipping away at the faith.
He's losing his hold.
He is. So, but all right. So issue 5 next week, and but yeah, all right. Volume 122 is in the book. So, Brent, tell people how they can follow you.
Yeah, BrentTech Prime on Twitter and TikTok is where I'm at on the interwebs.
We will probably, our main topic next week will be the Groot show. So Brent and I will watch those episodes and, give our thoughts and opinions on that. And we might have Mr. Snell joining us. I asked him when he'll be returning. He is tentatively returning next week to the show.
Awesome.
So yeah, we'll have that to look forward to. So yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Chris Balga. You can follow my other show, World's Finest True Believers, at Finest Believers. You can follow this show on Twitter at Marvel A Podcast. You can email the show at marvelalliancepodcast@gmail.com. You can follow the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network on Twitter at GWayPod Network. Feel free to email, tweet, provide fact or fiction, ask questions. Continue to rate and review the Marvel Alliance solo feed, GWay feed on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever platform of choice may be. Thank you all for joining us in the chat live this week. We had a great group in there, and thank you all for listening. Stay safe out there, everyone. And as Stan the Man would say, Excelsior, true believers. All right, Brent, let's justify the topic we're going to talk about tonight.
So a couple of the directors from Ms. Marvel, episodes 1 and 6, we're going to direct Batgirl. So that's our in.
That's our in. Now, that is our in.
What the crap is going on with DC?
Yes, what the crap is going on with DC, Warner Brothers, Discovery, everything. Yeah. Batgirl canceled. Just outright out of the blue.
Almost finished.
Yeah. They were basically, from what reports were saying, they were 1 week for wrapping post-production.
I mean, go back earlier this week, right? Like everybody was on this, a lot of people were on this big, huge DC high and stuff. They're like, oh my gosh, Ben Affleck is coming back. Like, that was this week, wasn't it?
No, that was last. Was that last week? That was the end of last week. Yeah.
Okay, end of last week. So within the last 7 days, 8 days. And then, like, that got a lot of people excited. They were happy to see him back. They're like, Ben Affleck's coming back. Allegedly, Michael Keaton was going to be in Aquaman 2, and Ben Affleck was reshooting those scenes because they decided it was confusing to have this different Batman when it was going to be before The Flash. Okay, that's all believable. Sure, we'll buy that. And then this rumor about Batgirl comes out, and I do not believe it at all.
No, because it came up from the New York Post. I was literally, like, seeing the stuff. I saw what had been posted. It's like, okay, it's the New York freaking Post. I'm sorry, but that might as well be one step away from a tabloid.
And then the Wrap confirms it, where
Grace confirms it.
I always need more than the Wrap.
Oh, I know, yeah.
I'm like, okay,
and Grace,
probably true, but I need more from the Wrap. Well, she blocked me, so I don't see all her stuff. But
I see it when people put the image in the chat. She hasn't blocked me. I've muted her. So
and then I found out other projects got canned that were basically done or close to done. Scoob. Some Ellen DeGeneres cartoon that admittedly I've never heard of, but apparently its third season was finished.
With Scoob, I did not know until I saw him post.
The writer?
Paul Dini wrote Scoob.
So as Warner Brothers, you really want to be pissing off that guy? Like, you haven't used, and like, he has not, like, Paul Dini has been arguably one of the most important DC creators they have had for decades.
Yeah.
Like, I think you could make a strong argument for that going back to his work on Batman the Animated Series. And you're really going to just upset that guy over a movie that's already mostly done? Now, my understanding is it's not quite taxes that everyone's been saying. I mean, kind of, but it's sort of a oversimplification. But I guess because of the merger or the buyout or whatever between AT&T selling Warner Brothers to Discovery, and this new Warner Brothers Discovery thing happening, there's like a brief window in time that ends sometime this month. It's
August.
This window closes mid-August.
Yeah.
Where if they can write off debt and it doesn't have to show on their balance sheets. And that is what people are referring to when they talk about, for tax purposes and stuff like that, they're willing to just let go of the $90 million they've pumped into Batgirl so far. 70 for the movie and then 20 with COVID delays. So it'd be similar with Scoob. It'd be similar with this Ellen DeGeneres show. I forgot what it was called. That's my understanding of what's happening here, of why. That makes me think other projects that were in production during the merger could also be at risk. But I don't believe the reports that the test screenings went poorly for this.
Yeah.
I don't believe that.
If we're comparing them to the supposed test screenings for Shazam, they're in line with Shazam. So let's go to the optics of this are horrible. Absolutely horrible at that point. Leslie Grace, the directors, Brendan Fraser, all the, you've got, minority directors, minority lead, at that point.
Female
led project, and it is canned to say possibly $10 to $20 million on the books at that point. And it optically, okay, if you haven't heard this stuff, David Zaslav's the head of Warner Brothers Discovery has famously said during meetings, it's not, when they were talking about we have to maintain our relationships with everything. He said, it's not show friends, it's show business. He has shown with doing this at that point and doing a number of other things that, it's not about, honoring the past. It's about making money. It's about, in all, did he do anything wrong legally, anything like that? Right now, no. I mean, he is fully within his right as the head of this to make these cuts. It is not cool, to say the least. But what transpired in the sense of when we all found out about that was very poorly handled. I don't think he cares at that point. I'm going to go on the offhand if someone heads up leaked this so that way they could get it out there so it would not dominate the financial call today.
Well, I see. I don't know if I agree with that because I don't think I don't see why they would have preferred that info to come out before this call. I think they would have wanted it to come out after the call. But they may, but I just talked myself out of it because they probably had to disclose it because of the window closing. Maybe you might be right.
Well, it's also all the quote unquote positive things they were going to put out there in the sense of naming naming all these ideas of studios, putting out their DC studios for the very first time, even though not calling it DC studios, but putting it in the studios category. We're going to have a DC studios with it. But all of this stuff, we don't know what else is in jeopardy. Blue Beetle. That is already done with principal photography. That may be on the chopping block. We don't know. We've heard rumors of Aquaman and Shazam getting now possibly delayed further. Aquaman, as far as it is supposed to, as far as December of next year.
None of which they confirmed today.
No, none of which they confirmed. It's just rumors at that point. Zaslav did say they want a 10-year. They want a 10-year plan. He called out Feige by name, and they wanted to model it after the Marvel and what Feige's done with Iger and Horn and everything like that. They want to do that. They haven't named a head of DC Studios.
They basically said they're putting together a team to make a 10-year plan.
Yes.
Not they have a 10-year plan. But let's be clear, that's like the length of the Infinity Saga.
Yeah.
You guys scale it down a bit. Let's shoot for a string of successful movies. Let's shoot for 2, 3, 4 movies that are all profitable, all critically well reviewed. Box office things are good. I'm going to say it. Good cinema scores and Rotten Tomato scores.
Yeah.
Let's get a few movies under our belts before we go long term. It's important to note, Marvel did not start shooting for the Infinity Saga. They were shooting for the Avengers. Mm-hmm. A much shorter, smaller plan. And I don't know. This entire thing just baffles me. I don't understand it. And you're right. Show business, yes, but how is it good business to piss off your talent?
But guess what? He has shown himself to be, he doesn't care. He really doesn't care, except if it gets him the almighty dollar at that point. That's fine. If that's the way he wants to run, he has very questionable statements. He has very questionable leanings in a sense of that. So it is hard for me to trust what is going forward with this plan. What Marvel and Kevin Feige have earned at that point, there's a lot that has been lost since before Zaslav took over, and there was a lot that has really been lost in just 72 to 48 hours.
It's, if you're a bigger name director, right? Like, they've already pissed off Christopher Nolan.
Yeah, he's gone at Universal.
Let's say you're a bigger name director. The only way you'd go back to Warner Brothers at this point is if you start putting it in your contracts. This movie will be released, and you start having to put in there some sort of like minimum percentage of the budget for marketing, things like that. Like, they're gonna just start contracting that stuff, and I honestly kind of thought they did already. Like, New Mutants was allegedly contracted to actually theatrically release, and that's part of why it did. Now, they did it with almost no fanfare. They kept the marketing to a minimum, but why couldn't they do that with Batgirl?
It's just like when they say at the end, like the disingenuous stuff later that night after the story broke that afternoon. It's like, oh, we can't wait to look forward to it. And working with, it's not Leslie, it wasn't directed. We can't wait to look forward to working with him late in the future. And then Zaslav comes out in a statement saying, oh, we're cutting back these projects like Batgirl to protect the brand of DC. I was like, yeah, okay, you really are looking forward to working with Leslie Grace and the directors again? Come on, give me a break. That's full of it.
I think the only way I believe that is if they immediately announce they're basically redoing the movie with the same crew, the same cast, the same directors, but they're giving it a massively bigger budget.
Yeah, that opportunity has come and gone. They could have done that, and they didn't.
I feel so bad for Leslie Grace.
Yeah. I mean, people have incorrectly said she did not delete her post of Batgirl. They have been unpinned. They are still on her Instagram feed. But my heart breaks for her. My heart breaks for the casting crew, Brendan Fraser, everyone on that, the directors. This was going to be a big moment for them all. And it will never come out right now because, again, if they are doing what they're doing for the tax thing, then they cannot put this out because it is for a loss. For them to put it out, they made 1 penny on it. They are in violation of federal law. You know? So, unfortunately, this is a movie that I don't know. It's going to have to be leaked.
It is. I mean, or they're going to have to reverse course in the next week, basically, which is possible, but I would not hold your breath for that. Goodness knows I've had my issues with DC media the last couple years. I don't think I have ever had less faith in them as a brand than I do today.
Yeah. Again, you have a 10-year plan, fine. You're going to have to prove it, and I don't believe we're going to see any instance of this so-called 10-year plan for a number of years. Definitely not until they name a head or who is on this said team of this DC Studios. So a very dark time for DC right now and Warner Brothers. For those of you like us that I'm a fan of DC, I'll continue to ban it for DC, but man, Warner Brothers Discovery, you really botched it this week. Massively botched it. You have lost a lot of not just fan support, you know, creators who were thinking about coming on board with you all are having second thoughts, and those of you who are still under contract with you all, I'll be very surprised if they stay on.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I don't know how I don't know how they bounce back from this.
Yeah.
But we'll
hey,
out.
I you know, it is our opinion at that point, but hey. All right, thanks for letting us talk a little bit of DC for our post-credits, and check out DC Alliance. They're going to have a lot more to say on this. They had their emergency episode. They're going to have a lot to say on Monday night at that point. So, yeah, check them out, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.